Hey everybody, Lindsay Smith here. I want to do a really quick special video on hail damage and what it means for real estate. My thoughts go out with the families that were very dramatically affected by the recent hailstorm we had this past week out in Airdrie especially. Hail is one of those things that's a reality in the climate that we live in, and it has very interesting real estate implications that you need to be aware of when you're representing sellers and buyers who have had hail damage to their properties. So hopefully everyone's covered by insurance, and hopefully you guys all make it through okay with the cleanup. In the meantime, let's talk about sellers and what you need to be concerned about when you're representing them. When you're working with sellers, one of the things to note right away is that hail is a patent defect. Typically, unless there's water damage that has seeped into the hail, which now becomes a material latent defect, it's hidden damage. But a patent defect is something that can be easily discoverable with a normal home inspection. And home inspectors go up on the roof, they can walk around the house, check the siding, different things like that. So while you're not required to necessarily disclose patent defects, you need to know that any purchase contract that you sign says in there that the property must be in substantially the same condition as it was at the time of this offer. So if you have a home that's already under contract, you're in charge of insuring the property. You're in charge of making sure this property is the same as when the buyer saw it. And so therefore, you'll be in charge of repairing the damage or compensating the buyer accordingly. So in the case where you're still waiting for possession and offer's already been signed, the first thing that I recommend you do is disclose. Let the client know that there has been damage and talk to your insurance company. And the chances are they'll give you a letter stating what they're going to do to fix it, stating that the process is underway. At that time, you can either recommend a holdback on possession so that the client is happy with it to prevent any kind of court proceedings or anything, or the insurance company might just pay you out before possession, in which case you don't have to worry about it and you can get the repairs, or you can talk to the buyer and at least figure out how they want to proceed to get the damage repaired, whether they just want to take the money off or go through the repair process. Most times with hail type damage, you need to repair it quite quickly to prevent any other further water damage. In the case where the home hasn't gone under offer yet and is currently listed and you're representing the seller, I recommend that you make notes of it because the stuff is typically very, very obvious to buyers. Make notes in the listing. Let them know what you're doing, what the anticipated repair time is, that it's going to be repaired, and that they've taken additional steps to prevent any further damage from water seepage, because chances are it's going to rain again in Calgary before you necessarily get your siding repaired or anything else. So I do suggest that you're proactive on preventing any further water damage. But as the seller, you need to make sure that you're putting buyers' minds at ease to allow them to still write an offer confidently on your home because you're taking the proper steps. And again, work closely with your insurance company, get documentation from them, get the quotes from the contractors, and just make sure that you have done your due diligence to show that, you're being proactive and this is going to be handled accordingly. Obviously, it's nobody's fault, and we just need to take the proper steps to deal with it. In the case of representing a buyer, again, you have two different circumstances. Either they're out looking for homes in a community like Airdrie right now, and you're going to see a bunch of hail damage out there. In this case, you want to ensure that your buyer is protected on possession day if they want to write an offer, and they're not going to be left holding the ball to further along with these repairs or not getting compensated for it, because an insurance company may not go through the repairs. They might just hand somebody, the seller, the money, and then the seller could potentially walk away with that. So to protect your buyers, make sure that you're writing it right into the purchase contract in an addendum under the additional terms, see addendum A, and saying that the repairs to the siding, the roof, be very specific, will be repaired by a professional contractor before possession, or a $10,000 holdback, or whatever amount is appropriate based on the damage that has been caused. So you can go through and protect your buyer by means of a large holdback to protect your client, to make sure that they're not left holding the bag. The other potential scenario here is that your buyer has already written a contract, there are no holdbacks in there, and they can take peace in knowing that, again, the property has to be in substantially the same condition. The onus is on the seller to still make the repairs, and the buyer should be making a phone call, or sorry, you as the realtor should be making the call to ask the questions, find out if there's any damage, and be proactive today to start this process immediately. I imagine most sellers will be very amicable. They're just as frustrated by it as you are. And working together to get through this, it's going to get repaired, if not necessarily by possession day, but shortly thereafter, and people can start to work it out by having open conversations. In the case that a seller doesn't want to play ball, obviously a buyer has the right to compensation through the courts for their damages based off the contractual obligations made in the purchase contract. So those are the two scenarios. The key thing here is talk to your insurance company first if you were affected by the hail. Find out how they want to proceed, find out the timelines. Keep in mind they're very, very busy. So get the information to educate the potential buyers of your home. On the buyer's side, be a little bit lenient here. Everyone is very busy trying to sort out their affairs in regards to the damage, so be patient, but try to figure out the information, and whether you take a lump sum off the purchase price or however you work it out. Typically you want it to be repaired because, again, water seepage can cause further damage. So those are some tips on dealing with hail. Here's our fingers crossed to no more damage, but it's a reality that in southern Alberta and central Alberta, we're going to live with hail for the rest of our lives. So being proactive and representing your clients is important. That's all for this week. Hopefully I don't have to do another video about this in the near future.